Finally.
Finally. Cheers to our first podcast. Oh, yeah. Drinking whiskey on a Tuesday at
What,
4
4?
o'clock in the afternoon,
It's 4 o'clock already.
right before a workout. But we're celebrating because you passed your exam today.
Yes.
And you said you were a little nervous, but you got an 85. So
86.
86. My bad. So I'm sure you did. You knew what you were doing, and you studied. And
Well, I only took 2 days to study in reality, which is crazy because I never do that.
oh, we should probably tell everybody what you do. So Jasmine's an ER nurse, emergency nurse charge. How would be
Check.
your official title?
I'm a regular registered nurse, but as a charge nurse.
They call RNs.
RNs.
RNs. Yeah, I've heard
Registered
that.
nurse for, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a charge nurse, so that's my position. I basically navigate the ship. If you think about it, it's like being a captain on a ship, you know.
Right. Do you like
So
that?
it's a big responsibility.
Do you like being the charge nurse? Kind of telling everybody what to do?
Not really, because it's just a lot more responsibility, and I'm constantly having to use my mind, you know. Because as a regular nurse, I don't know, I feel like there's less tasks, less things that you have to handle.
Right.
But
You'd rather
but
do
yeah,
just a nurse with a couple of different patients and stuff.
right, yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's hard, you know.
Yeah.
It's like just imagine being a captain, and you're responsible for so many people.
I kind of like it.
You
But
like it?
for me though, because I feel like I'm a leader, a natural born leader.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like being the one that has to tell everybody what to. I mean, in my job it's completely different, but when you're instructing a classroom, you're the leader in the room, and everyone's looking at you to what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think if I was in the military, or I think I just have that mindset that I would like to be a leader. I feel like I can handle a lot of pressure. We were talking about this earlier.
Right.
Like, because I'm more of a thinker, more logical, I can probably solve the problem faster, just because I don't have an emotional kind of filter I have to deal with. I can kind of just figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think just some people are better for that, and some aren't.
Well, I realized that, I am capable of doing it because since I'm put in that position, it's just I just naturally do it,
Right.
you know. A lot of people have backed out on it, you know. They said, "No, this isn't for me," but I just attacked it and just did it.
Right. And I think that has to do with just, the type of person you are,
Yeah.
your personality.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's born for that, to handle that type of pressure, you know.
Yeah, I've realized that the more I'm put into situations where I
Right.
have to it's a survival mode, I can act. I
Yeah.
don't freeze like other people do, you know?
Right. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just experiences that I've gone through, you know? You live
Yes,
and you learn.
and I would say partly because what I've been, learning about is masculine energy.
Yeah, that too.
I think you're born with it. I think the more masculine energy you have, the better you'll be in those type of situations. Um, yeah, I think it's something you're born with, and also for sure experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I've always been able to kind of just figure things out. Because I was an only child, and I just had to. And my mom was terrible with technology, so at a young age, I had to just figure everything out, like how to fix the VCR. I mean, I remember being 7 years old trying to reprogram the clock on the VCR and figuring it out, and just kind of just keep messing with things until I figured it out. And I still see
But you
that.
were also the head of the house. You were the man, you were the male.
Right.
So
Right.
you had
Because
no
my
other
dad
choice.
wasn't there, so I had to kind of. But that pressure helped me. Like
Right.
knowing I had nobody else to kind of help me, like an older brother, like, hey, can you come? It was just like I had to figure this out by myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I still use that. Like I figured out how to like, I mean, like all this technology that I'm using now, I just kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
GarageBand and Photoshop and Final Cut Pro, I've self-taught myself. Just kind of pressing every button and trying to figure it out. Like it's all pattern recognition. You press one button, it's like, okay, I know this does that. You press another button, I know this does that, and you know, um,
Yeah.
I'm really good at pattern recognition. But yeah,
I'm not.
I think you are to a certain extent. I think there's levels to all of it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah, I remember being like 16 and getting like a Tupac photo and like a Biggie photo and photoshopping it together and like putting legends in the middle and putting like fire in the background. And I was 16 doing this shit on my computer. And I even did like the best football hits. I would get like a bunch of football clips and I would take all the hardest hits. It was pretty gruesome, but I would put them all next to each other and put like Trick Daddy song under it. Like I've been editing little films since I was like 15, 16. It's crazy. I
Yeah,
just
that's something that
naturally
you're born with.
gravitated towards it.
Right.
Yeah, so strange. So
That's who you are.
tell me about lately about this
Oh God.
the
The
COVID.
COVID shit.
Yeah, like
I'm
what's been
so
going
over
on?
it. I'm very over it
Because I
because
remember when we first talked about it, you
yeah.
weren't seeing that many cases. You were seeing,
Well, wait, when this first whole thing started?
you did see, and then it
Yeah,
kind
we
of dropped
did.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of it was you weren't like really testing for it, or you didn't maybe have the test yet. It was still very new. It
Mm-hmm.
took time. You had people with underlying issues,
Right.
so
Well, the
you
majority
weren't
of the people
feeling
that were coming to us were nursing homes, and that's what they said from the beginning was that it was the people that were immunocompromised.
right.
It was those elderly patients or people with, who are taking long-term steroid use where their immune system is like to the ground. It was just a combination of things, and it was mainly those type of people. But we didn't know. We didn't know what the hell was going on. We didn't know if a regular person can get it, like a healthy person. And yeah, in the beginning it was just like that. How it was just the elderly people from nursing homes, and then just little by little.
You can bring it down a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
right there's good.
yeah. I don't know. I just feel like I think we're all gonna get it at one point.
I think we all
I
got it.
think, yeah. And if you have a strong immune system, you'll overcome it. It's just like fighting the flu. We all
Right,
get the flu.
right. I think that's what's going on. Like I was watching another podcast earlier, and they were talking about California, all the spikes on in Florida,
Yeah,
and it's
9,000 people.
right, right. But the thing is, like the death rate is not going up.
Right, right.
And like this is a thing. Like if we were testing for the flu, you would find out every single person has had the flu. So that number of cases would be in the millions because
Right.
everyone's had the flu. The important thing is how many people are dying from it. And I think this is where like people are seeing a big disconnect. Um, and I think they're just doing a lot more tests now. But you are actually seeing a lot more people coming in from
Well, now, yeah, because now we're considered the second. This is the second wave. So,
right.
yeah. Yeah, yesterday was pretty hard.
And when they're like, you're still getting people from nursing homes.
Yeah, nursing homes, like young people too, like in their 50s, 40s.
Well, 50s is not young.
It could be young, yeah.
No. Nobody, I think, considers 50 young. Ask a 50-year-old if they think they're young.
So, what do you think about 40s?
I would say, like, after 30s, you're not really young anymore. Like, in your 40s, I feel like you're a full-blown adult.
No, I think about that as now that I'm in my 30s. Now I feel like I'm a full grown
Right.
adult.
No, I do too. But I can still
And
feel like a little bit of my childishness still there.
right.
Like, I just left, It's like I'm kind of like closing the door on my childhood. But
Well,
I
they
feel
say
like
that
40,
men actually
mature late.
mature
Yeah,
late,
I
like
believe
in
it.
their 40s.
I believe
Yeah,
it.
that's what they say.
It is weird, right? How like we can be the same age, but we feel internally different.
Yeah.
Women mature much faster. They go through puberty faster. They have a
Yeah.
window and when they can get
Right. Exactly.
pregnant and have a
I think
kid.
that's why we mature a lot faster than you guys, you
Yeah,
know?
it's like biology didn't want you to mature any later. It just like gave you a window.
Right.
But men, I mean, you know, we could just we could just be a child until we're 40, and there's a bunch of
Yeah.
those guys. You know, um,
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, about the
COVID cases.
COVID.
I
But
don't know. Like the world's
yeah,
freaking
I
out,
think we're all gonna get it. I think it's better if
but
we do
it's a good
because
thing if we all get it. No.
I don't know. Yesterday I spoke to my coworker who got it and he was out for like a month or two. He didn't come back until recently.
Wow.
And I asked him, I'm like, "Hey, so since you got it and now you're immune to it, can you get it a second time?" And he said, "Yeah, you could." He knows people who got it a second time. So
Huh.
that's scary. Yeah,
But I mean, you
to
can get the
go
flu a second time too, right?
but not like right back to back,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, I'm sure
Because
people get flu back to
I
back.
mean, you can get the flu because every year it changes. It's a different strain. That's why we have to get a different vaccine every day. I mean, every year.
Which is crazy to me that people get.
Right.
I mean, I feel like if you just boost your immune system, you would. I mean, I never got a vaccine for the flu. Probably when I
Oh
was
man,
younger,
I
but
get
I'm
it
saying
every single year.
I don't.
It sucks.
I don't.
Yeah.
But I never get sick. That's the thing.
Mhm.
Like I feel like people who get sick get it. And
Well, yeah, if your immune system is low.
but
Yeah.
why not boost your immune system?
Right.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, I get it every year because
you're like your viral load
the
is more
viral
than
load,
more
yeah.
than
Oh my God,
yeah. That makes sense.
last year when we were going through the flu season, I got the flu because I was in an area where they had put me like it's called the fast track area. So you only see like patients like you see about 40 people in a day, which is a lot, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they could all have some.
And
They
they
could all
all
have
come
something.
in, yeah, when it's season, like they all come in with the same complaints, like
Right.
fever,
But
runny nose,
even when you
cough.
get it though, do you like are you in bed that you can't
Oh
get
my
up?
God,
You
when
feel super
so
weak.
I got the vaccine in October. I got super sick in November. Like
Well, that
literally
didn't
just
work.
yeah. Exactly. So, I don't know, man. I got it really bad. Like I couldn't move for a whole entire day. My whole body was aching in pain.
Do you think you
My
got it?
fever, like my temperature, my core body was like
Well,
just
that doesn't
yeah,
make
it was really
sense.
bad.
Do you think maybe the
And I know it
vaccine
was
did
the
more
flu.
harm than good,
It didn't
or
do
the shot?
anything. I don't think it did anything.
Yeah, I don't know. Cause like
They
I
say
hear
that
the
it's
argument for why you should take it, but
yeah.
then I have my own personal experience. I never get sick. Now I'm a healthy guy. I do a lot of healthy things.
Mhm.
I feel like if we all did healthy things, then we shouldn't need to get a vaccine every year. You know? Um, yeah. Big hit.
Yeah.
I just think we don't
I don't
talk
know,
enough
but
about immune system. We don't talk about enough about vitamin D. You know, getting sunlight.
well, changing your immune system like is a big step because you need to change your diet. Like
Right.
that's the main thing.
Right.
Like
And
80% of our immune system in us is in our gut.
right.
So that's it's just simple as that. You know, you have to change the way you eat.
Right. But
Gotta
that's
live a
easier said than
healthy,
done.
but just live a healthy lifestyle.
Well,
Like modify your diet.
that's a
You
good
know.
segue. So you recently changed your diet, didn't you?
Yeah. Thanks to somebody. But yeah, I
Tell us
mean,
about
I
that.
was eating a lot of crap. You know, lots of carbs, lots of processed food, sugar. Like I had an addiction. You know,
Nice.
but
So why do you think you had an addiction?
because I grew up like that. My parents. You know, I'm Hispanic.
Right. The culture.
It's the culture.
So you
And
you understood you had an issue with food. You had an addiction. Right. But at least you're able to like not deny it. You admitted it. I mean, a lot of people still think that they don't have any issues with food, that they don't see it like as an addiction.
but that's another thing. It's like how can people be so oblivious when they're actually feeling they're like reaping the you know, you can feel how bad you are. That's
Right.
one thing
But we
that I
don't
knew I
correlate
was
it.
right.
There's this crazy thing that we do. We don't correlate, sickness with food. We think like, oh, we have something, or it's our genetics, or I mean, at least for me, I know I felt way better when I started cutting out processed foods. But I didn't realize I had such a high addiction for caffeine and sugar until I started actually paying attention to my diet. Because, we all ate the same. All my friends, all my family, like we all ate the same. So I just thought this was food. I thought this was the way to eat. I never ever thought there was something wrong with my food. That's why when I first started gaining weight, I thought it was lack of exercise. So I started exercising more, started running more. That didn't really work. I mean, I got into a little bit better shape, but I ended up getting injured because I was so tight. I was overworking my back and my legs and never stretching. But I never really lost like the little gut that I had. It wasn't until I did an experiment with myself and I was like, okay, it's not exercise because I just worked my ass off this last month and I'm barely making a dent.
Wow.
I was like, all right, I got to try the diet. But I knew I didn't want to. I understood and I felt that I did not want to change my diet. I didn't know what that feeling was though, but I knew I didn't want to change my diet. That's why
Wow.
I fought so hard not to change it. That's why I exercise harder. I was literally trying to outwork my diet. I was going to prove everyone wrong that you could eat a bunch of bullshit and Oreos and Coke and, chips and, you could still have a six pack. Like that was my thing. I was going to prove to everybody that you can still do it. Man, was I wrong. And then when
No
that didn't
way.
work, I had to like look in the mirror and realize like, okay, maybe it is the diet. How about you do an experiment? How about for 10 days? That was my number, 10 days. It wasn't a month. I was like, I can't do a month. But I was like, all right, for 10 days, I'm just going to eat healthy. And by healthy, I meant like just chicken, beef, and like salad. And that's it. So for 10 days, that's all I ate. Within like a week, I already started losing some body fat. I saw it right away. And I remember thinking like, oh shit, it worked. Fuck. Damn it, it worked. Like it wasn't supposed to work because part of me did not want to change my food, but I changed my food and it worked. I lost my body fat, and I realized
Wow.
like, oh shit, I can never go back to that way of eating. And then I started realizing like what was stopping me. Something was holding me back. What was that? Why was I so reluctant to change my diet? Because I really did not want to change it. So I started being more aware of my mindset and started learning about the ego. Started learning about the the, 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 the how your mind is always trying to protect you. It doesn't like change, and that's what was holding me back. It was my mind. That's why I didn't want to change my diet. So I became way more obsessed about my mind and why my mind was holding me back from change.
No way.
But that was like the spark. That was like me knowing like, oh shit, there's something holding me back in my mind.
Right.
I was more aware of and you feel it with everything. It's not just food. It's like you might have a liquor addiction, coffee addiction, a weed addiction. Like there's
But you
always going
see,
to be something.
I lean towards more like, okay, what makes me feel good? So that's what made me alter my diet. That's what, I mean, I went from being vegan to eating carnivore, like,
Right.
who does that? But it
I
just,
didn't.
yeah, I did too. And it's just, it all comes down to like, okay, well, how does this make me feel
Right.
at the end of the day? So it's like,
So when you were eating all these processed foods, because I know I got used to that feeling. Like,
well,
I got used to this fogginess.
yeah.
I got used to this like crashing every couple hours.
Well, I fell into that hole, and it's like the more I fed my ego or the monster, the more I fed into like having sugar after sugar after sugar because it made me feel good. It was destroying me,
Right.
And I have like I'm not perfect. I still do it. Like at work, when I know like I'm being overwhelmed, I'll have a donut. You know why? Because it makes me feel good,
Right.
and it's like that instant moment of like, ugh.
Yeah, it's dopamine.
It's the dopamine,
Dopamine
release.
release.
Yeah.
You look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like it's also a reward. Like, okay, I've been doing so well. I've been like, doing all these tasks, finishing up this and that, telling people what to do. It's like, okay, I need a moment to myself.
Right. It's a reward system. I mean, that's how we
Right.
train animals.
Yeah.
We make them do something, and then we give them a reward system, so they get that hit of dopamine,
Yeah.
and that's how you train them. It's like
But then I
you
also
train
feel
yourself the same
guilty
way.
because I'm eating something that I shouldn't be eating, because I know it's not good for me.
Right.
So I just finding that balance and, maybe eating a fruit as opposed to a donut,
Right.
you know.
Yeah,
But
because
then
if
there's nothing other than there's nothing else than having like chocolate, I don't know what it is.
I know
There's
what it
got to be
is.
some crack in that shit.
I know what it is. It's well, this is the thing. Like when you do the research, you find out that these scientists and these food companies, they got scientists to make things very addictive, and they found out that if you make something salty, savory, and sweet, it hits all three circuits,
Yeah.
and it makes it extra addicting. That's why like a mango is not as addicting as a donut.
Right.
It's because it hits all those circuits. See, they did it
Insane.
on purpose. That's why, like, when I became a trainer and we started looking into the foods we were eating, and I started actually looking at why everything had high fructose corn syrup, I started doing more research, and I'm like, oh, these companies are doing it on purpose. They're manipulating us with the way they put the foods together.
Right, because like you said the other day, if I had chocolate, like actual chocolate, I'd hate it because it's
Right,
so bitter.
right, so bitter. Right, right. Well, that's
But
what I did
they
on my
they
journey.
process this chocolate with so much other shit.
Yeah, because if you have like which is cocoa nibs or cacao nibs, which is
Yeah,
the
it's
actual chocolate part of it, you just eat that without the sugar. It's disgusting.
right.
That's why people don't really like chocolate. You know, I thought I did too, and that's why I thought, okay, let me go to dark chocolate. Right, that was the first step. But I knew that it still had sugar. You can read it. It says
Right.
sugar. You're like, okay, so let me try. So then I found a chocolate that had no sugar. Oh my God, it was disgusting. And I was like, oh, I don't really like chocolate. Without sugar, it's not good. And then you actually, if you do that with a lot of things you eat, you realize a lot of things that you thought you liked, you don't really like.
Yeah.
And then I think what made it easier for me is to be upset. Anger really helped me get away from those foods because I don't like being manipulated. I don't like being used. I don't like, nobody does, right? And when you find out these companies spend millions of dollars to make these foods very addictive, just so you can create a habit of buying them every day. And it's so easy. I mean, you could have a Kit Kat bar every night. You could
Or
start
Oreos.
or Oreos. You know,
Oh
you
my
could drink
God.
Gatorade all day.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like without even noticing, you can start a quick habit of a processed food.
But it's so good.
Right. Right. It's the biggest scam ever.
It
It's the
is.
biggest scam
It's so
ever.
sad.
Yeah. Well, they knew this. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And then I was doing some research on cereal because I wanted to know when did they start putting sugar in cereal. I think it was like in the 1970s. Post was the first one. It was Kellogg's and it was Post. And I believe there was a discussion that they shouldn't add sugar because they knew it was addicting. Kellogg's, I think. I might be butchering this, but from what I read, Kellogg's didn't do it yet, but Post went ahead and started adding sugar, and their sales skyrocketed like 30% in 1 year. So Kellogg's was like, oh, fuck that.
They found the
They
secret.
found the secret. They were like, oh, they put
Yeah.
sugar in it? We're going to put sugar in it. And that started the wave of the
The
cereal sugar.
revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have people till today still eating cereal. I mean,
Of
I ate
course.
cereal until I was 25. You know what I mean? And you can ask people still to this day, and they'll eat cereal. They'll, buy some like organic brand at Whole Foods and think it's better. But, you read it, it's a carb dump.
Yeah.
It's sugar or it's honey or, I mean, you name it. It's just, but we justify it because it's more natural ingredients. Sucks.
So what about all this other type of sugar, like all these other alternatives? Like, what do you think about that?
I mean,
Does that?
when I first started, I was like, oh yeah, changing to honey is way better. Changing to maple syrup is way better. Agave nectar, way better. And then I started looking at it and I was like, wait a minute. When it goes into your
Or
body,
brown sugar?
right, brown sugar.
They say brown sugar is like. Oh.
When it goes into your body though, like your body processes it the same. It's
Yeah.
still sugar at the end of the day. I mean, one might spike your insulin more than the other, but it's still sugar. It's not fat. So like you're still getting a dopamine hit, you know.
Right.
You're still getting that addictive property of sugar. Because fat and sugar just taste very different. So even if it's honey or brown sugar, it's still sugar. Like when it hits your tongue, you still get that reaction like, ooh, this is sweet. Like sweet is sweet. but they make you think like if you're changing to brown sugar, oh, you're being healthy. If you go to dark chocolate, you're being healthy. I fell into that, and I was doing it, and I changed everything. But at the end of the day, if you add up all the sugar I was still eating, it was no different than when I was eating all that processed food. It
Yeah.
was just now they were like a more natural version, but I was still running on sugar. You know what I mean? Like I would wake up, have a sugary breakfast, have fruits all day. You know, I was still running on sugar. And you know how you know you're running on sugar when you get hungry every couple hours.
Yep.
That's how you know you're running on sugar, because sugar
Or
burns
you
like
just start
water.
crashing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get sleepy,
Hmm.
tired.
Right.
You just crave more and more.
Right. It's the
Right.
biggest scam because it's like, yeah, it tastes so good, but and another thing that no one ever factors in is how rare is it to find sugar in nature?
Only in fruits.
Right, and honey
Right.
and maple syrup. But that's pretty seasonal, right?
Yeah. So that just goes to show you how, like, we shouldn't even be running off of sugar
Right,
constantly
right,
like we do.
right.
So
But then you look at our foods, and everything has
everything
sugar.
has sugar.
So you have to be like, okay, there's some evil going on here. Because
Of
naturally,
course. Of course.
right. But like that's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah. It's
for
in
me,
everything.
anger helped me get off sugar because like yes, I was addicted to sugar and I realized it, but at the same time, I was even
You
more
were
upset that these
that they were
companies were taking it and
manipulating
they were
us.
manipulating me,
Yeah.
and I fell for it.
And
And
they're
I don't like being
forcing it.
manipulated,
Right.
you know, and that made it much easier for me to not give these companies money. Because at the end of the day, like I can't stop them from making Coke products and Hershey's Kisses and all those, you know, processed foods, but at least I can stop
Yeah.
giving them my money. So that was like my first thing is like stop giving them your money, because you know. And the second thing I started doing is like if I did want chocolate, I got a better brand. I found something that was like, you know, at least just 4 ingredients or 3 ingredients,
Right.
not 20. You know, because I do think to go completely no sugar in this society is too difficult. Plus,
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a world where I can't have chocolate.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know,
Like I always suggest people, okay, if you're gonna start like changing or modifying anything, start by cutting off sugar. But you can't really just cut off sugar.
no, and that's the
Like I
thing,
still haven't cut off sugar
right?
completely.
But that's the thing most people don't teach us. How do you get off sugar? Like if I asked you, how do you get off sugar, Jasmine?
I mean, the first, okay, well, if I was used to drinking Coca-Cola every single day, then that's one thing I would stop.
But I can't. I love Coca-Cola. That's what I do.
But
I eat lunch,
man,
I get a sandwich, I get chips, and I get a Coke. That's what I do.
I mean, I guess I'm different because I can just really stop an addiction if I had to.
Right,
Like I don't really have an addiction to anything
right.
because
And,
I know,
and that's a product of having a strong mind.
yeah.
But you're talking to a weak-minded person. Now, I'm a
I know. I feel
weak-minded
like
person.
just shaking these people and be like, snap out of it. You know, it's
But
not really.
what if I was an alcoholic? Would you treat me the same way?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Exactly, you wouldn't.
It's hard.
And I think that's the problem we kind of are looking at. We see people with these food addictions and we just go, "Hey, stop eating sugar. Come on, just stop it.
It's
It's
just so
stupid."
simple.
It's so simple. It's not that simple though. I think we're treating it the wrong way. I think we legit need education and 12-step program like alcohol. I'm serious. I think for weak-minded people that would work.
Wow.
Because you have people that are seriously addicted to these foods. You can't just tell them stop eating them. That doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like you think they want to be fat or overweight, you think they want to be diabetic, you think they want high blood pressure. Nobody wants to be sick. So obviously something else is going on. It's an addiction. Well, how do we treat other addictions? How do we treat heroin addiction? We wean them off, right? How do we treat alcohol addiction? 12-step program, right? Like we need a way to get people off sugar. Okay. Sorry about that. We are back.
We are back. And you have not took a sip of.
She already drank hers. So yeah, we
I'm
were
a fast
talking
drinker.
about how we should deal with food addiction, and I've thought about this extensively, and I really think we're treating it all wrong. I think we're taking it too lightly. I think we need two things. We need to set people up for success. So that means, like,
I think it's
going to the
just,
grocery store, making sure you buy the right foods.
yeah, but like you saw how everybody changed when this whole coronavirus came out because they saw a threat. They were in fear of their
Right.
lives.
Right.
So if we just build more awareness to like, okay, well, eating these types of food will lead you to X, Y, and Z. Like, well, there's none of that. Like,
Right. Well, that's one part of it. The second part is these companies selling us poison and then coating it in sugar, right? If you had like Sweden, Norway, if you go to these companies, they have made
they,
artificial flavors and colors
yeah,
illegal.
yeah,
And they do it for a reason. They don't want these companies taking advantage of people. We don't do that. So I think, yes, education absolutely helps. But what are these advertising companies doing
I mean,
also?
look at commercials. They
Right,
advertise Coca-Cola,
right,
they advertise all these things, and then
right,
when it comes to like medicine, they advertise medication.
right.
And like, okay, they have all these different brands for so many different medications, but they don't. I mean, it would,
Teach you about
yeah,
health.
teach you about, the consequences, the
They're shoving it
repercussion.
down our throats.
Yeah.
If you're a little kid and you're watching TV
It's very sad, man.
and you see the commercial, you want, you tell your dad and your mom, I want that, I want this. I mean, when I was young, I got everything. I was a little spoiled little brat, because if I saw like bagel bites or hot pockets, I got them.
Yeah.
I'd go to the grocery store and I would just stack up the whole shopping cart with junk food. And my mom didn't know any better. She just wanted an American kid, to do the American way, and those were American foods, and I think we all went through that.
Yeah.
But I think if you had real leaders that were looking out for people, there would be laws in place for these companies to be transparent and not take advantage of people because you shouldn't be allowing artificial flavors and colors into foods, knowing that a high dose of them can be harmful. Like how the hell did they get away with this is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But when you see how much money the sugar company puts into politics, they're not stupid.
It's just
They know what
what
they're
what
doing.
happened, what went wrong was greed.
Right.
That's and the evil and just money.
But look, greed is going to be there. It's
Yeah.
always going to be there. We need to have, boundaries and regulations. That's why we have laws. So that, like, yeah, you could be greedy. That's okay. But there's going to be certain things you're not going to be able to do. And if you do them, you're going to go to jail. Like, that's why we have laws in place. But this was something like nobody was paying attention. These food companies started and they went just crazy. I mean, in a matter of years, they were everywhere,
Right.
and they changed the American culture. Like when I was doing all that research on the agricultural, well, it was actually the Industrial Revolution. Without the Industrial Revolution, you couldn't create these processed foods. So once they created the processed foods, now they just needed a way for everybody to eat them. And that's when they started doing all the commercials, the Got Milk commercials, the sugar commercials, the cereal commercials, and it worked. It worked to a T. I mean, we were within like 10, 20 years, all of our foods changed. Processed foods skyrocketed. We
But why did that happen?
to make money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because people were greedy, and the more money they had, the more money they can make, the more money they had. And
Which
it's just the lack of love and compassion.
right.
Because if we didn't have that, I mean, we would care more about like the well-being, the person as a whole. Like that's
So
what happened, what went wrong.
so would you like to get rid of chocolate?
Fuck you.
You see? You see? I understand what you're saying. You want the well-being, well-being
Reality
of
check.
people, but do you want to get rid of chocolate? That's the thing. We all have a blind side.
Yeah.
Look, I'm all for capitalism. I'm all for companies making money. I'm all for people creating products for people. I'm all for that. The problem I have is allowing these chemicals and these preservatives and these, inhumane ways of making these foods. Destroying the planet to make these foods, like things like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's because there's no regulation. It's just wild, wild west. These companies are doing whatever they want, and they're paying the politicians to create the laws so that they can continue to do whatever they want. And then look at the result. You know, it worked. Everybody got manipulated. Everyone got stuck on processed foods,
Yeah.
and now we're seeing the consequences of it. And we've never been sicker. We're the sickest country in the world. You know, but like if you pay attention, you can see where we went wrong. And I think the first thing is to educate people. Hey, you're being manipulated. Hey, they're putting sugar in everything for a reason. The
Yeah, but
reason you're
how are we
addicted.
able to do those things when you have other companies with more money, more power that can influence and manipulate people's mind by, having a commercial of the opposite. Like, it'll be contradicting. Like, why you would be promoting something healthy and something like, changing this and that, but then you also have these other companies. You get what I'm saying?
No.
It would be a conflict of interest. Like, how are you going to be able to? I mean,
Stop
I
these
mean,
companies from making their
right.
commercials. Gotcha, gotcha. Um, you
I mean,
don't.
we are seeing it little by little. Thank God we're moving into like a different generation of people like realizing and like, oh, like, oh shit, we need to change our lifestyle
Right.
because the rate of cancer has gone up. The rate of cardiovascular disease has gone up. Like people die of heart attacks like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's diabetes alone. Like everyone's diabetic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
High
so
blood
sad.
pressure. Yeah.
Like you're expected at the age of 50 to have like some fucking
Yeah.
problem.
No, I know.
Sorry,
I
excuse me
saw.
for my language, but
No,
something
please.
that I'm very
Curse. This is, going on
yeah.
YouTube. I hope you curse. Be yourself. Um, shit, fuck.
Yeah, I get really angry because this is
You should.
just
Because that's how I got. I got
yeah.
very angry too. And I think anger is the best um, fuel right now we can use. If you get
Yeah.
angry at these companies, if you get angry at these foods, it makes it much easier to not eat them. But if you just like, you know, very naive,
Yeah.
thinking, oh, it's just
It's
chocolate.
just
It's
it's
just soda. It's just Coke.
I know.
It's like, yeah, tell that to your kid who's now addicted to Coke and he doesn't even know why.
Right.
The Coke you gave him.
It's
You
so
know what I mean?
sad. And
Um,
it hurts me because
because you see
I
the out,
see
yeah,
it.
you
I
see
see it
everyone, yeah.
in the hospital like, and it's sad because it's not their fault, and they're just their bodies are crumbling, you know.
And I think that, like, I mean, we're both in the health industry, and we both see, you know, the consequences of these foods and this addiction. And I think we're so passionate about it because we do see the repercussions. We do see the consequences. And I think for some people, they might not have an issue. They might just think everyone's just weak minded, like,
Mhm.
oh, just stop eating chocolate or just stop eating this. And I think that's unfair because, one, we're shoving it down people's throats. And then two, we're exploiting their natural impulses for sugar, And I think we're taking advantage of people, and not everyone is strong-minded. The people that buy all these products, they're weak-minded people. Strong-minded are not, they don't have an
Right,
issue
because
with it.
you doubt something. You'll be like, okay, wait a minute,
Right.
is this good for me
Right.
or
And then they make them so cheap. So you have weak-minded people, poor people.
Mhm.
They're the ones eating these foods the most. They're eating them
Right.
daily, and then their kids are eating them. I mean, there's nothing worse when I see like a family that's overweight. Then you look at the kids and they're overweight. It's like,
Right.
damn,
So
they're getting a
sad.
terrible start to life. It's like, here you go, welcome to the world. Here's this addiction we're gonna give you as well, and then they would let you to be an adult. Yeah, try to figure that out.
I
Try to,
know.
get off that. I just think we have to look out for weak-minded people. We can't exploit them like this. You should be able to make a product, use capitalism, make money, but to a certain extent. It shouldn't cause any human harm. And I think when we start causing human harm and exploiting these people, especially weak-minded people, and manipulating them, that's when we've gone too far. And that's where the government needs to step in. We can have it from both ways. We can educate the people, like, hey, this is what happens if you get addicted to these foods. You're gonna end up diabetic, high blood pressure, all that stuff.
Mhm.
And then we have to also, on the other end, put regulations on companies so that this doesn't happen again. Because this never happened before. This is our first time ever seeing companies just go crazy and make all these fake products and put sugar in them, get them addicting, and then give them to everybody. It's like you can
Yeah, if
create a
we
product
were
like that,
yeah.
you know?
If we were pro health and pro life and all this other
Right.
stuff, like we would ban all those things. We would make it prohibited
Right.
to,
I
to
do
have that in our food.
I do think it's changing though a little bit. I think
I think now it's just okay.
it's getting a
It's
little more
your
pro
choice
life.
because now you're having different options. You have a variety of different, diets that you choose to do.
Yeah, because I feel a wave. Like people
I
are
feel a
a
wave
little
too.
bit more conscious about what they're
Yeah.
eating. I think people are fed up and realizing like, yes, there is sugar in everything. I think I was just like a little bit ahead of the curve,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, you ask anybody now, they know sugar's a problem. But if you asked anybody 15, 20 years ago, they would have thought it was fat. That's why they stopped eating butter. That's why everything came out low fat.
Wow.
Margarine went up.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's
I
happening.
think
I think it's just happening
we're
very
seeing.
slowly.
Well, I no, I think it's happening faster now than we thought because we're seeing like look at all the baby boomers,
Mm.
like our parents.
Yeah, they
Now
got fucked.
they got really fucked.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing this massive amount of like people with so many, health issues.
Right.
And the young people now we're living through it and we're seeing it from a
Right.
different perspective and we're like, "Oh shit,
Don't do that.
maybe we shouldn't do that."
Right.
So we're learning.
And I think we saw this with cigarettes. We saw this with
Exactly. Everyone smokes.
everything.
Like doctors would, suggest,
Yeah.
prescribe you, okay, you need to smoke. They had cigarettes everywhere in hospitals, in airplanes. Like people would smoke cigarettes every day.
Hmm.
And then we're like, oh,
I
wait a
think that's
minute.
right.
People are suffering from COPD
That's why I'm
and
very like non-trendy because I feel everything is the
that's everything
cigarettes is like
yeah.
the cigarettes. I feel like everything when it comes out at first, people jump on it, and then we realize this shit's bad for us, and then everybody
Right.
retracts. So I just kind of sit back and let the trends happen.
Right.
You
Like
know,
electronical cigarettes, like
right,
vaping.
right.
Like,
Everybody jumped on
oh
it,
my God.
and then it was like, oh,
That
you find that it's worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because now in the hospital, it's like a new screening. So it pops up and it says, because we have to ask, okay, do you smoke cigarettes? Do you
Oh
drink
wow.
alcohol?
Now do you do e-cigarettes?
And now
That's
there's a little
hilarious.
option where we have to click yes or no. And we ask the patient, like, okay, do you vape?
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
it's so
Do
funny.
you get anybody that's like, what's vape?
Yeah. I mean, the elderly, they don't know what that is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And that was
But,
again like companies going, "Oh, people know cigarettes are bad. Okay, if we make
and they
them
would tell us that it was
these
good. It was better because it was less nicotine or
right,
whatever the fuck,
right.
you know,
Yeah, I mean,
less
we
carcinogens.
live in backwards world, right? Like they tell us everything is better
Yeah.
for us.
I know. It's like,
And,
all
and
right, what else is gonna come at us? Like we're
right.
gonna.
Well, anything that comes at us and people like jump on right away, I'm very skeptical because I'm like, this feels familiar. This feels familiar.
Yeah, it's a
Like
trap.
it's a trap. You know, it's exactly what it is. A lot of things are traps, and I think that's where we need to stop setting traps for people, because
See that, but
people
that's what I'm
fall into all these
saying.
traps, and then us on the outside tell them, hey, you should just stop eating sugar. It's like, hey, it's not that easy for this person. This person's been eating this shit their whole life.
Yeah.
Like imagine being born and your grandma's giving you these foods. Your parents are taking you to get ice cream.
Yeah,
You know,
you're
because
associating them with like
love.
good memories and love. Yeah.
That's where they
Because you
fucking
trust your mom, you trust your dad.
right,
So if they give you something, you're not
right.
gonna doubt it.
And that's what makes it so hard. It's like the people we love the most are giving us these foods.
Right.
That's why these foods are so difficult to get rid of because they've embedded themselves into the culture and they have made their way into our homes and they have disguised themselves like a love vessel. So it's so hard for people to see these as evil.
Right. Like
And I
when people
think
think
that's
of Coca-Cola, like people are like,
right,
okay, we have to congregate where it's like a group social,
right,
event.
right.
Like, oh, let's
And I
have
think of Coke as like
Coca-Cola.
the biggest evil. Those motherfuckers
Yeah.
make this cheap ass liquid and put them into hospitals. You can get it in every vending machine. They made
Right.
themselves. They got themselves into
Like, why
airports.
can't vending machines have like good stuff for you?
Good stuff
Healthy
doesn't
stuff.
sell like bad stuff. Good stuff doesn't sell as good as Coke
Yeah.
and as chips. They don't sell as good. Look, again, it was just we weren't paying attention. The government wasn't paying attention. These companies were running wild, and a lot of people jumped on it. And now we're seeing that they're bad, but it's too late for some people. They're seriously addicted, and they're not strong enough to get off of them. And this is where we're at. we're seeing the only ones who make it are the strong-minded. They're the ones that can kind of get off these foods. But you have a
Yeah.
majority of people out
Of
there
weak-minded
of
people.
weak-minded, addicted. I deal with them all the time
Yeah.
because like I tried just telling them, hey, how about you don't drink Coke and drink water, or at least drink some orange juice or whatever. As soon as they see that Coke, it's over. As soon as they walk by those, burger and fries, it's over. As soon as someone hands them a donut, it's over. Like no self-control.
I know.
What do you do?
I mean, I get
What do
like
you do
that
with that type of
sometimes.
person?
Yeah.
Sometimes though, but for the most part,
Yeah.
you have
I can
somewhat
control it.
control.
I can control it. Thank God.
Right, thank
But
God.
I do
You were
have
born with a
moments.
stronger mind.
Right.
So was I. But some people legit are not like that.
Yeah.
I would say most people. And those are the ones I feel bad for because I don't want to see them suffer. They're my friends. They're my family.
Of course. Yeah.
They're my coworkers or my clients. But like part of me is like, okay, I can train the shit out of these people. It doesn't matter if every single time someone slides them some chocolate or some cake, they say yes.
Mhm.
If they can't say no to that, I got no chance. They're not going to outwork a bad diet. Remember, I tried. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tried, and it sucks because, like, for the most part, people come see me because they want to lose weight. And we're actually in the wrong place to lose weight. We should be in the kitchen. We should be at Whole Foods. We should be cooking.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to lose weight. But I'm in the gym putting them in cardio, getting them to feel a little bit better through stretching, like trying to fix maybe some injuries, strengthen their core. Like I could do all that stuff, but they're still eating these foods.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking as a trainer, like, okay, how can I be more effective? And I've realized like we have to go to the kitchen. And some people don't want to go to the kitchen.
Some people are just so lazy. Like I was just about to say how my dad, like I tell him all these things and he's aware of it, but then he tells me, he's like, Jasmine, you know what? Guess what? We're all gonna die one day. We're all gonna die of something.
That's such the
You're all gonna
that's the ego defending.
I was like,
That's
yeah,
what the
but
ego does.
why would you want to die quicker
Right.
and eat all these fucking garbage ass food? Like,
That's the ego's last resort.
yeah.
That's what that's
He's
the,
already met that.
Yeah, when they just like they kind of cross analyze everything and they go,
Jesus
you
Christ.
know what? We're all gonna die one day. It's like if that's the case, and just walk into traffic, dude. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
I hear that
I
so
get
much.
so
And
mad at
the people
him.
that say that are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they say that for food, they say that for a lot of things. They're just in this like perpetual self-abuse state. Where it's just like I call it Pleasure Island. They're living on Pleasure Island.
Yeah.
It's pleasure through food, pleasure through TV, pleasure through everything. They become addicted to pleasure, and these companies know that. That's why they make money.
Or they just feel content in like whatever situation they're in.
Right, because change is uncomfortable. Change takes work. But again, it's the mind. That's how the mind works. The mind doesn't like change. Just like how I didn't want to change my diet at first, same thing.
Yeah.
The mind fights change. It's not designed for change. But
And
it's going
it's
to hold
just-
you back because
and
you're
it-
going to suffer and you're not going to even know you're suffering. And then you'll
Right.
justify the suffering for the addiction.
Yeah.
And then the doctor tells you you'll be fine if you just take these pills, which is even worse because it gives you a way out.
Oh my God.
Like, imagine the
Don't
only
even
way
get
was
me into
diet.
that.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like
I mean, my dad takes like 10 pills. He's diabetic.
Right.
And he goes to see his doctor and they just tell him, take these, it'll regulate you, you'll be fine. Sure, there's going to be side effects. Sure, you're going to be in a constant state of suffering, but at least you won't die. And that's enough for them to hear it. Because if the only way out was a better diet, that would be harder, but it would be better in the long run. If you force people to only, like imagine going to the doctor, you're diabetic, and all they do is educate you on food. This is what you're going to eat. This is how you're going to eat. There's no even option for medication. That's not even a thing.
the problem
It'd be
is
way
no,
more
we do
effective.
that. We do that because now. So I'm in school. I'm getting my master's to become a nurse practitioner, and so for diabetes, like okay, when you're diagnosed as diabetic, it's because we did a random glucose check and it's over 200, which is pretty high. And the first thing we do is we suggest, okay, you need to change your lifestyle. It's lifestyle modifications. And then we reassess after 3 months. And if you're not compliant, if you're not a compliant person and you don't make those changes, And obviously you're not going
But how
to,
how do you
because
go
that's
about
very
making these, like, how do you educate a person? What do you
well,
tell
no,
them exactly?
no, yeah, we give them pamphlets, we give them resources, we tell them what to eat, what not to eat, what to avoid, blah
So
blah
you
blah.
have like a food list.
Yeah, yeah, we print it out. Like there's, I'm not gonna bash the medical field because even though there are some corruptions that I can name a couple, there's are also like preventative measures that we
So you,
take.
you educate the person.
Yeah, a
And
big part of my job is to educate
how
people.
effective is it?
It's not very effective because look at the society that we live in. Look at the how our government manipulates our mind. Like it's everywhere. We can't. A
So
lot of
so you
weak-minded
feel
people, they're gonna drive by a Wendy's and be like, oh shit, you know
right.
what? Who cares? It's just a one-time thing. Or McDonald's, Taco Bell, whatever
And
your
that's where
weakness
I'm
is.
at. I'm in the same boat. Like I feel like education is not enough.
It's not enough. Yeah,
So what
it's
do we
definitely
do?
not enough because we don't enforce it. We'll just hand them the paperwork, hand them the
How would you?
discharge information,
How
and
would
that's
you?
it.
People are not even compliant when they even take their pills. I found out like
Right.
over 50% of people
Exactly.
don't even take their medication. I'm like, oh my God, how simple could it be to just take a pill and they still don't do that?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
What do we do? That's what I've been thinking about. Like, okay, education is not enough. I wish I could just show somebody a documentary or an article and just, they could just, change their mind. Like, oh, you know what? I like these points. You're making sense and change life. But that's not what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
We're dealing with something much stronger. And I think if we treat it as a drug, as addiction, like imagine if we were in a tribe and this one substance came through the tribe and made everyone addicted and everyone started getting sick. You would be like, get this fucking substance out of here. Whatever it is, get it out of here. That's kind of what's happening with
Yeah,
sugar.
of course.
This process
But it's
wave came through, made everyone sick.
right.
And
And it didn't just come as like one single thing.
no, it came over time.
Yeah.
But I think like if we had, like you said, if we were helping people and we had real leaders, we would put a system in place to make sure this never happens again. That this can never happen. And I think by making a law like transparency, and like if you want to make a product, you can make a product, but it's under these certain rules. First rule, it can't harm people in any way. So you can't have, the FDA like gives you like a certain limit of poison you can put in it. Like if something's toxic,
Fuck the FDA, man.
right? Like if something's toxic, they have like levels of toxicity that you can handle. So like let's say 50 milligrams of something will kill you, but 30 won't. They'll allow you to put 30 into the product.
Of
That should
course.
not fly. That should not fly. It should be zero. It should be, you want to make a product, fine, but you can't have anything that harms anybody. It has to be zero toxicity level. It has to actually benefit people, and you have to do it so that it's good for people, good for the community, and good for the environment. Because once you make the environment into it, if you make a law where you can't exploit the environment for your product, then you eliminate a lot of these massive agricultural companies, palm oil, like how they're taking down the rainforest just to get palm oil. Like you, you,
Yeah.
you make businesses honest, and when you make them honest, that changes everything because now it makes it much harder to make a product. And I think that's where we need to go. We can't stop until we make laws where transparency and honesty in every single product and every single company is a law, because people follow the laws and companies follow laws. I mean, that's why we have laws. They're
Yeah.
important, but if you don't have laws for these companies, they're wild wild west. They're just gonna exploit people, and that's what's happening. So until I think like real leaders come out and start talking about our food problem and our sick problem, and nobody's talking about it. That's the most annoying part. It's always about war and
Yeah.
military and immigration, and it's always all these things that like, yes, they're important, but like you're not paying attention.
Yeah, you're
I'm
not.
in the industry. You're in the industry.
Yeah.
People are sick. People are not feeling well. Depression, everything is going up. It's affecting our families. I mean, you name it. Every single person knows probably someone in their family who's suffering from some chronic disease, either
Right.
cancer, either high blood pressure, diabetic. and it's just normal. I mean, you grab any 50, 60-year-old off the street, ask them how many pills they're taking. I guarantee they'll tell you a couple.
Yeah.
Find me a
I mean,
70-year-old that's not taking a
look at our
pill.
ancestors. They would live up to like
Right.
90.
And still hunting and
Nobody
shit.
lives up to like 70.
Right. And they lived better quality of life too. They were still
Yeah,
active. They were still hunting and gathering. And
exactly.
I think that's why the hunter-gatherer education is making such a big movement now. And I think that's
I
what
hope
the
it,
whole carnivore thing
right.
is kind of shining a light on. Is that like, hey, we were hunter-gatherers longer than we were farmers. Why aren't we talking about this? Why
Right.
are we not using the hunter-gatherer context when we speak about medication and chronic illness? You know, like how did they survive? How did they live in nature with none of these pills? You know, well,
Yep.
they ate natural foods only found in nature.
Yep.
Well, what happens when we eat natural foods only found in nature? Well, guess what? We get better. You know, and I think, if anything, if you think about it, it's actually a good thing that our medical field kind of failed us because it forces the individual now to
To,
educate themselves.
yeah.
Because now we realize we're on our own.
Right.
At least like our generation, we saw what happened to our parents. We realized like, oh shit, even the own doctor is not really helping them out. Even their own doctor is just giving them more and more pills. Like,
Right.
because at the end of the day, doctors are people too.
Yeah.
Just because they're doctors doesn't mean they're good. I mean, how many fat doctors are there that smoke cigarettes and take their own pills?
Right.
You know? So if you think about it, this actually was a blessing in disguise because it's forcing the younger generation to now look into food, look into how we make our meat and vegetables, where we grow them, where are they coming from, how are they being processed.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you're seeing such a big wave of grass-fed beef, pasture-raised eggs, organic fruits and vegetables. I mean, back 20 years ago, nothing was organic. We never even heard the word organic or grass-fed.
Right.
You never heard grass-fed beef when we were when we were kids. You know, so I think it's happening. I think it's just gonna take maybe another generation.
Right. And I think medicine should be solely based on like having emergency medicines.
Right.
Like if you get into an accident, if you break your bone, if you need surgery, that's what medicine should be for. Like,
Right.
you know, but it's the opposite. You find more,
And what's sad is how much money, how much energy
oh man,
we spend on making a new
so
pill.
much.
So for something that could be cured through diet and exercise.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I have a huge conflict because like, going through this journey of like nursing and, seeing what I like about being in the industry and seeing how like there's so many flaws in the hospital. And I'm just like, man, I can't believe I'm a part of this. Like I'm
Right.
a part of
Like
this
you must
problem.
feel right.
Yeah, I'm providing the medication to these patients. I'm injecting them with shit, toxic
Man,
shit,
that would destroy
which
me
is
every
so
day.
bad for your kidneys, for your liver, for your heart. Like
Right.
it's really like a mind fuck, because you're like, fuck, what am I doing? But then I have to do it. It's like that obligation. But
Yeah, that must be even harder because you're at the forefront of the broken system.
right. But that's why I also chose to work in the department, of emergency because like I don't know, I love emergency medicine first of all because I'm an adrenaline junkie. But it's also because of that, because like you treat whatever is emergent right now. Like I couldn't be a nurse upstairs passing on medication all day long. Like that's basically what they do, and some wound care and stuff like that. But I needed to be like, if something walks through that door, I need to be able to, you know,
Right.
confront that situation or whatever, handle it, whatever it might be.
And I think you're better for that too.
Right.
You use
But
your brain more. You're using your creativity more.
But what I was saying is that as a nurse practitioner, like, so nurse practitioner is basically being like a doctor. Just you work underneath a doctor, a physician, but you do the same thing. You see people, they come to you. You have to basically figure out by what they're describing, their signs and symptoms or whatever, and then diagnose them and prescribe them whatever they need. So that's what I'd be doing. Like it's a different role as a nurse. Nurses receive the order and then
Right.
they act upon it. So I'm going to be the one giving those orders out. And most of the time it's like medication that I have to prescribe, like these toxic things. And it's such a conflict.
But don't you think being there, you might be able to have a little more freedom, maybe to change the system or to add
No,
to the system?
because so a lot of what I'm learning right now in school is protocols, and there's a protocol for everything. So if you have a certain condition, there's evidence based like research that says, okay, if you give this medication, this is the outcome, this is what's gonna benefit the patient. So this is what you have to give. Like it goes for everything. I'm learning right now in school, like protocols,
Right.
just like
Right. Yeah,
standardized,
try
like,
not moving it so much.
sorry,
It's
I'm just
okay.
very like
No, you're good. You're good.
Hispanic, um, Latina,
Yeah. No,
Puerto
but
Rican.
very
So,
movement. It's okay.
right. And then when I get into the groove of things, I'm like,
It's
yeah.
okay. You're good. You're good.
So,
But yeah, protocol.
yeah, there's a protocol for everything,
Right.
every single thing. You name it. Like, ask me, okay, what's the protocol for, I don't know, ask me anything.
I mean, someone's blood pressure is too high and they need, well, that's something else.
Well, yeah, if you have a hypertensive emergency, you give labetalol, you give, nicardipine, there's a protocol for that. Perfect
Right.
example. Because if once you pass a certain blood pressure, you have to give a certain medication,
Right.
you know. But those are the extremes.
Right.
The problem is that, you want to confront that before it happens.
Right.
So that's where preventative medicine is where it's at,
Right.
you know.
And there's
That's
not enough
why
of that.
there's not enough of that.
Would you like to do something with that?
Um,
Because I feel like
I should have.
want to do something with preventative.
I should have gone that route, but I'm already in the path of emergency medicine.
Right.
So once I graduate, I'll be a nurse practitioner, but in under the acute care umbrella,
Right.
because there's also another umbrella which is family medicine, which would be the preventative measures. That's working in an office-based setting where you see the patient. They're stable, they're normal, they're just coming for a regular checkup, and you go through their different medications and you suggest, okay, maybe you should exercise or maybe you should eat this. I'm going to provide you with this information
I
or
feel like you
resource.
would like that more though, because
Yeah,
you would have
no.
more, you would be more effective with
Right.
your teachings.
Yeah. That's why I'm telling you I'm in such a conflict right now because I know what I should have done, but I took a different route. But I also like that route because it's emergency medicine. It's like, okay, what can I do? How can I save someone's life?
Right.
That's what I like as well. But I don't know.
I get it.
It's
I get it. I mean, yeah, you have to figure out what it is that you want to do. At least for me, I would want to be more in preventative.
right.
That's why I try to educate people. That's why I started like my YouTube channel and try to like educate people more
You would fall
on,
under that.
yeah, on
That
preventative
yeah,
because
on
I feel
preventative.
like that's really gonna make a bigger difference at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're
I mean, you
right.
should have people that are really good at emergency. Like they should be there.
Right, you need to have those individuals.
And then I think like for more like preventative, you need more education, more teachers.
Yeah.
It would just be so nice if we had a system where if you were sick, let's say you're diabetic, right away you get a doctor that stays with you and educates you, spends more time with you, not just like 8 minutes a day or 8 minutes an appointment, and they
Yeah.
actually like walk you through everything. Because I guarantee I could do it. I'm not even a doctor, but I guarantee if I had a diabetic person and they just spend like a day with me, I could show them how to eat, what to eat. I can explain to them why they became addicted to these foods, how it happened. I mean, people need to know all of this. They're just told stop eating these foods. It's like it's too simplistic.
Yeah.
You have to kind of educate the person, and if you can get them angry at why they're diabetic, I think that's even better because like anger is way more effective sometimes than self-love.
Yeah.
Like telling someone just take care of yourself better. It's like,
Yeah.
good luck. That's
But
not gonna work.
that's
But
why
get them
I,
angry
I
is different.
admire those individuals that choose that route because you have to have a lot of more patience.
Oh,
Like you're
absolutely.
dealing with people that have serious addictions and that, don't want to admit their flaws or any of that stuff,
Yeah. But that's the
And
only way for a lot of
yeah.
these people. A lot of the people you're seeing at your hospitals and all that, like that's what they need. They need a coach.
Yeah,
They
they're
need a
basically
life
coaches.
coach.
Yeah.
Just giving them a pamphlet or telling them stop eating these foods. It's like, yeah, it's all good and gravy when they're in front of you, but as soon as they start going back into their life habits and they drive by that Wendy's, it takes over.
Yeah.
And that's why, like we were talking about psychedelics and the fact that they kind of allow you to think clearly and create new pathways and create new habits. Um, I think that would be an amazing way to get over food addiction. Like you go in and you do like a psychedelic trip, like not a microdose or something. They just give you a little bit, and you talk to a doctor or a therapist, and they kind of talk to you about your food addiction. They talk to you about the foods, and they
And you're
make
saying that being on the psychedelic is gonna make you realize those things.
yeah, because
But
it's
how do you
ego
know?
dissolving. The way
Yeah,
Michael
no, but
Pollan,
how do you know it's ego dissolving? Like, how do you know that people are that's their ego is gonna go down? Like, what if it's not? What if it goes the opposite?
you would know, but that's what alcohol and cocaine does. It's ego enhancing. That's why people get angry, more emotional, they more irrational, more impulsive. If you've ever done mushrooms, you know it's ego dissolving because you feel this oneness. You feel this like sense of love and compassion. And that's where we need to get to actually clearly talk to people. Because when you talk to people, you're talking to their ego, and they're going to defend themselves. They're going to say, "Oh, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with my diet." They're not thinking clearly, and they actually have done this with nicotine addiction, with tobacco. They've given these people that had, a tobacco addiction, they give them one session of psychedelics with a therapist,
And they stop.
and they stop. 80% turnover rate.
Wow.
80%. And they have like this a moment of clarity when they're tripping. They realize that they're harming themselves. And what it is like once you get the ego to kind of shut off for a second, you think very clearly and you go, oh my God, I am abusing my body. And I think this would be the same reaction you would have with people that are addicted to food. They would be like, oh my God, I'm diabetic because I'm harming myself with these foods. I need to stop. You would get that same reaction that you got with these people with tobacco. And it's happening now in like Oregon and California, and I think Colorado as well. And once it becomes like a normal thing and they start passing it and doctors start prescribing it, I think that's it. You're going to get people with food addictions. You're going to tell them, okay, what you need is a psychedelic or a psilocybin therapy session. And then they put you with that doctor. You'll go to that doctor. They get you to think clearly. And like Michael Pollan said it beautifully, the way he designed the brain, it's like we all have basically like our brain has these carved patterns. Think of like a mountain that you're snowboarding down, and you keep snowboarding down the same path. Well, that groove becomes more and more, deeper and more ingrained, right?
Right.
But when you do the psilocybin, you get fresh powder, you get fresh snow. So your ability to now create a new habit is much easier.
But my question is that how do you know that it'll go that route? What I'm saying,
You
like,
have
how
to
do you
try it.
know? Like, I've heard so many stories of people trip out, and
Right,
like
but
it's a negative thing. It's not a
yeah.
positive thing.
Well,
And then
you have
they,
to use it with intent, and you also have to use much less of it. Like if you do too much and you're tripping way too hard, you're going down another experience. This is like a microdose thing.
oh, okay,
Yeah, it's like you take very little, but you also go into it with intent. You also go into it with the
the
ability,
intention.
the intention. Okay, I want to learn. I want to know what's going on. And what it does, it kind of just relaxes the mind. It kind of puts all the self-defense mechanisms down, and it allows the person to think clearly. That's why a lot of people, whenever they do, a psilocybin trip, they have this moment of clarity, or this like they call it ego death for a reason, because they feel this oneness with the universe. They feel that everything is connected. I mean, if you talk to people, a lot of them will agree they've had the same or similar experience where everything is
Interesting.
connected, everything is one, people,
Yeah,
animals, environment, everything is together.
yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and that's what we need. If you think with that context, then you wouldn't make these terrible Coke products. You wouldn't make a lot of these things because
Right.
all of that is ego, you know? And I think that we can't stop until we finally put a law on like the ego itself, right? Like no more evil, no more human harm. Um, but I think we're learning, and I think a lot of these pill companies don't want psilocybin to become a treatment because anything that can get people off cigarettes, that quick is not a good thing for these companies, right? Like
Yeah,
are
they
these
lose
pill
so
companies
much
like,
money.
and that's why there's not that much like money in preventative, because you can't make money off healthy people. You can only make money off sick people.
Right.
So if you're a company that's selling a diabetic pill or a high blood pressure pill, you don't want people to get better. You just want to keep getting people sick. So you're not going to educate them on immune system. You're not going to
Yeah,
educate
no.
them on all these things. But I think with the coronavirus, what's happening is, like you said earlier, people are now actually in fear because without the coronavirus, if you're just taking blood pressure medication
Mhm.
and you're stable, you're pretty relaxed. You're going about your way. You're going about your life. You're not thinking about it too hard. As long as I take my pill, I'm good. My levels are good. I'm going to
Right.
continue.
Mhm.
Now all of a sudden this COVID thing comes around and kills people that are immune compromised. You go, oh shit, I can't just be relaxed and just take my 2 or 3 pills. I have to have a strong immune system.
Yeah.
So again, blessing in disguise. This might be the best thing that's ever happened to people, because those
Oh,
people that were on the
definitely.
fence,
Definitely.
now they are hardcore. They want a trainer, a
Yep.
nutritionist. They want to
Yep.
get their immune system because they don't want to die.
Exactly.
And I think that's a good thing.
Of course. Yeah,
It
there's
sucks that it
definitely a
takes,
transition going on.
right. It sucks that it takes a pandemic for that
Right, for
to
us to
occur.
realize that we need to be more on top of our health.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good thing, because I've seen it online. Like more and more people are jumping on the carnivore diet, or they're curious about it, or they're jumping on the keto diet or the paleo diet. I
Yeah.
think this is a good thing because I was already on that wave, but it's good to see other people on the wave, because honestly, I don't want anybody to suffer. I don't want anybody to be in and out of the hospital. I mean, you feel the same way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I do.
I want people going to the hospital that need it, like emergencies, injuries, strokes, heart attacks, stuff like that. But
Right.
preventative, man, all the money should be in preventative.
And it's sad because it's really not.
No,
Like we're not very focused on that, on preventative medicine. And I feel really bad saying this, but the another reason why I chose to be an acute care nurse practitioner is because there's more job opportunity.
mm,
Nobody wants to do family practice.
mm,
You don't get hired. I mean, not that you don't get hired, but there's just not that many jobs out
mm,
there for that. And that there goes to show the whole, there's not preventative medicine is not really it's not really focused upon,
right.
you know.
Right. If there was more preventative, you would
Then
probably want something along those lines.
right.
Yeah. I mean,
But
the only
and
preventative now are trainers.
yeah,
If you're really thinking about it, like who's educating people on lifestyle changes
right.
the most,
Because how often do people go see a nutritionist?
right? Or
Like let's
even
be
can't even
honest.
afford one.
Exactly.
You got
You're
trainers.
you're offered a nutritionist when shit goes down, when you're
Hmm.
like actually really sick and you have no other choice.
Right.
You know, it's
Yeah.
very sad. So yeah, I chose to do acute care and because I know, okay, well, that's where the money's at. That's where I'm going to find a job as soon as I graduate. But then I also like it because, I'm dealing with emergency stuff. I'm dealing with the actual problem at hand. Like I'm facing, I'm it's like, okay, well, if I don't do this, that person's going to die. It's a survival,
Right.
death or survive type of
Right.
thing.
And you like it, and you're also good at it.
Yeah. I mean, I've only done emergency medicine. Like after once I graduated from nursing school, that's what I did.
Right.
It's
But
funny because I wanted to
you're
do
conflicted though. You see,
right, but
because
I'm
like you
also
want to try to
help people.
help people,
Yeah.
but you're not in preventative. But you also like emergency. But you're dealing with a lot of people that are there for chronic
Yeah. Oh,
diseases.
yeah. 100%. The majority of
So
people
you're
are
like
there because of the
conflicted between the
chronic.
two.
Yeah.
That's why I was talking to you before about like, what if you help the person get them stable through emergency, but then you have a moment where you speak to them about,
Yeah.
educating them on food.
Right. And nurses do have that moment, because you're spending time with them. Well, in the emergency room, you're with them for like maybe an hour or two, maybe more,
Damn,
possibly.
that's way more than a doctor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. No, doctors are in the room for
In and out.
like in and out. Yeah. They're like they scan you really quick. They ask you a couple questions and they're out. I
I
mean,
feel
you'll
like
have
that would be such a great opportunity for
right.
nurses just to educate
That's
people.
why nurses, we tend to individuals as a whole. You know, we're not just there to.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
And then that was the whole foundation. Like nursing was the core value of nursing was love, compassion,
Right.
like, you know, health.
Damn, that would be so great if you guys just had a better way of, you know, educating these people
Right.
on food and
I
and
don't want to
and
bash doctors. Like I think doctors are, you know, to become a doctor is very difficult and you
Mhm.
got to be a very smart person to do that.
No, no, we're not bashing them.
But
It's just that they are doing their job and
they're
they're
doing their job and they
but the
were
system is broken.
right. They their
There's
education
higher
was
powers
solely
at play
based on fixing the individual right then and there.
right then
They
and there, yeah.
right.
But
You
there's higher powers in play.
yeah. And you'll have some very few doctors that actually focus on nutrition and tell the person how it is and what they should
Right.
do.
You're seeing some of that now.
You're seeing that now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
follow a couple carnivore doctors and I thought,
Yeah.
man,
That's
that's
great.
amazing.
It's great.
For you to like be a doctor in the normal system, figure
And
out that it's all due to, because I think this is where a lot of doctors they have a choice because eventually they realize this is all food related, and
and
then
they
they
admit
have
to
to
it.
they admit to it,
Yeah.
but they also continue to do it because maybe they have to pay off their
Student
student loans or
loans.
whatever. But I think every doctor realizes eventually that it's all food related and they have a choice. Okay, I either have to now try to educate people. If I really care about people, I'm going to go a different route where I educate them on preventative. Or I have to pay my student loans. And I think most doctors just stay in it to pay their student loans. And the few doctors that actually branch out into nutrition and education and preventative, I think those are the real heroes. Because I'm like, you're going against the grain.
Yeah.
And I follow a couple doctors that now are like carnivore doctors or paleo or keto doctors. And it's fascinating because people come in and right away they start talking about food. They start talking about lifestyle.
Right.
They go right to the nitty gritty, the
Right.
actual cause of the problem.
There is a field. You can be a doctor in holistic medicine. Like that is an actual field. There's a couple ER doctors that have
But
also
holistic is more like, isn't that like herbs and all that?
no, not necessarily. No, holistic just means like just not really focusing towards the Western medicine. Like Western medicine is a completely opposite than holistic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, as long as someone is learning about food, learning about lifestyle changes, being followed up on,
Yeah.
being held accountable, because they're doing it. Like Chris Kresser's one of them. What's the other guy's name? The carnivore MD. He's another one of
Oh
them.
yeah, what's his name? He's
Yeah.
awesome.
He's another
Yeah.
one that right away starts talking about food, you know. And not only that, like they're super effective if they can get through to somebody, because like you can get somebody off these foods, and then within months they can reverse their chronic illness.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I know.
That's so effective. That's the way it should be.
That's the way it should be.
And then you don't see them anymore. Maybe whatever you check up on them once a year, but it's just so crazy that you're seeing a doctor for like 30 years. It's like I don't think you should be seeing a doctor for 30 years. I mean, checkups is one thing, but if it's just like you're getting worse and they're just giving you another pill and then you get even worse, okay, let's try this pill. Like the way they deal with depression is so sad.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
they are literally
They
guessing.
they prescribe
They're just
so
guessing.
many medication.
They're just like, try this.
Yeah.
Oh, you felt suicidal? Okay, try these.
Because they think it's like an imbalance in your hormones.
Right.
So they try to increase one hormone and then the other one.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how smart some people are and how dumb they can be.
Right.
How they can specialize in one thing and they can learn so many things about this one thing, but in the big picture context, they're so dumb. They don't realize like all these things. You have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the bathroom. It's all good.
I gotta pee so bad.
So it happens when you drink whiskey too fast. Yeah, so just to wrap it up, you know, we obviously we see there's a flaw in the system. I think we're all very aware of it. And I think we have to educate the individual, take it on an individual basis for now, and hopefully if enough people jump on board on lifestyle changes, then these big companies, these doctors, these pharmaceutical companies, they're all gonna run out of money. Because if it works and people do get healthier, that means less and less people are sick. That means less money for pharmaceutical companies, less money for all these things that were making money. So I think at the end of the day, as long as people get educated and they move away from that way of living, they get to a more healthier lifestyle. I think eventually these companies will have to jump on board because they're losing money,
Yeah.
and that's what I want to see. But it'll take time. I mean, it was like with weed and marijuana, like it was always illegal for years. I never thought it would be legal, and then all of a sudden, a couple people with like seizures were getting better. More and more people jumped on CBD. The
Right.
government got to a point where they were like, you know what, this is undeniable. Let's jump on it. And I think that's what's gonna happen with like
That's
everything else.
definitely what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything is gonna be like they're gonna fight in the beginning. Right now, we're in a fight,
Right.
but eventually, like when enough people
We just
undeniably do it or
right.
want it,
We just
these
have to
companies
keep
have
up
no choice.
that momentum,
Yeah,
you know?
that's it. It's the momentum. But there's
Yeah.
times where I just want to shake people. I'm like, come on, jump on the train, jump on the train.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was great.
Thank you.
We'll do it again soon.
Yep.
Yeah,
We've got a lot to talk about.
we have a lot. We're just what is it? Just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Scratching the surface. All right. Peace out.
Peace.